Avery Brooks said no. Jake Sisko's girlfriend in Star Trek DS9 can't be Rom's wife, best known for playing Lita, the wife of Rom, Max Grodenchik. In Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Chase Masterson almost played the girlfriend of Jake Sisko, Sarek Lofton. Lita debuted in Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 3, Episode 22, Explorers, where she was introduced as a potential love interest for Dr. Julian Bashir, Alexander Siddig. Bashir and Lita's relationship lasted for a year before she found true love with Rom, the brother of Ferengi bartender Quark, Armin Shimerman. Rom and Lita continue to make a positive impact in the post-DS9 years of the Star Trek timeline, successfully negotiating Federation membership for the Ferengi. While Chase Masterson joined the cast of Deep Space Nine in the latter stages of Season 3, she originally auditioned for an earlier episode. In Star Trek DS9 Season 3, Episode 6, The Abandoned, Commander Benjamin Sisko, Avery Brooks, disapproves of Jake's relationship with a Dabo girl from Quark's bar named Marta, Jill Sayre. Chase Masterson originally auditioned to play Marta in The Abandoned, but was turned down for the role by director Avery Brooks for reasons that would eventually make her such a memorable addition to the DS9 cast. It's interesting that Chase Masterson makes her Star Trek Deep Space Nine debut in Explorers, because it's a spiritual sequel to The Abandoned. Both DS9 episodes are about Sisko coming to terms with his boy becoming a man, and both episodes begin setting up Jake's future career as a writer. Masterson was cast as Lita in Explorers on the strength of her audition to play Marta in The Abandoned. In the Star Trek Deep Space Nine companion, IRA Stephen Bear remembers why Avery Brooks turned down Chase Masterson for the role of Jake's girlfriend. It's also worth pointing out that there's a 13-year age gap between Jill Sayre, who was cast as Jake's girlfriend, and Chase Masterson, who auditioned for the role. While the Sisko subplot in The Abandoned was all about the Deep Space Nine commander disapproving of the age gap between Jake and Marta, Masterson's casting would have made this gap insurmountable. The much smaller gap between Sarek Lofton and Jill Sayre therefore made them a more believable couple in Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 3. Star Trek Deep Space Nine has the largest number of regular and recurring characters in the entire franchise, and Season 3 is when the DS9 cast begins to expand. Lieutenant Commander Michael Eddington, Kenneth Marshall, was introduced in the Season 3 premiere, The Search, who would betray Starfleet to the Maquis in DS9 Season 4. Lita was the next major recurring character to be introduced in DS9 Season 3, though she would only become a semi-permanent fixture from Season 5 onward. As well as introducing Lita, DS9 Season 3, Episode 22, Explorers also teased the arrival of another key character. In Explorers, Jake reveals that he doesn't want to leave Deep Space Nine until his father finds himself a girlfriend. Unlike some Star Trek captains, the list of Sisko's love interests is surprisingly small, which caused concern for his son, who worried his father would be lonely. Jake therefore suggests his father go on a date with an unnamed freighter captain, who would be introduced in the following episode, Family Business. That freighter captain would turn out to be Cassidy Yates, Penny Johnson-Gerald, who became Captain Sisko's great love in the remainder of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. In the world of Star Trek, the relationships between characters often reflect broader themes of diversity, inclusivity, and the exploration of personal and cultural identity. One notable example of this is the romantic subplot involving Jake Sisko, the son of Captain Benjamin Sisko, on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, DS9. While DS9 is celebrated for its complex, nuanced storytelling and richly developed characters, not all creative ideas made it to the screen, often for compelling reasons. One such case involved the possibility of Jake Sisko's girlfriend being played by the same actress who portrayed Rom's wife, Lita. Avery Brooks, the actor behind Benjamin Sisko, reportedly put a firm foot down when this was proposed, raising significant points about representation and authenticity. Avery Brooks was not just an actor on DS9, he was a visionary who deeply understood the broader implications of his role as the first black captain to lead a Star Trek series. He was highly invested in the representation of African Americans on television, often advocating for character arcs and plot lines that would reflect the richness and diversity of the black experience. This is where the proposal for Jake Sisko's girlfriend intersected with Brooks's vision of what Star Trek should represent. In Star Trek DS9, Jake Sisko, played by Sarek Lofton, was portrayed as a thoughtful, curious, and sensitive young man who matured over the course of the series. His coming-of-age story paralleled the larger, more dramatic arcs of the series, grounding the show in real human experiences amidst the backdrop of intergalactic politics and warfare. Jake's relationships, both familial and romantic, were integral to his development as a character. So when the idea of pairing him romantically with Lita, the Bjorn Dubbo girl, played by Chase Masterson, was floated, it sparked more than just a logistical casting question. Lita was a recurring character who later became romantically involved with Rom, the lovable, bumbling Ferengi engineer. The suggestion that the same actress could also play Jake Sisko's love interest posed a potential issue of typecasting and superficiality in the portrayal of relationships in the Star Trek universe. More critically, it raised questions about how interracial relationships, particularly involving a young black man, would be depicted on a show that was making strides in portraying racial equality and cultural diversity. For Avery Brooks, the idea of Jake Sisko dating a woman played by the same actress who was already romantically linked with another main character felt wrong on several levels. At the heart of his objections was the issue of authentic representation. Brooks recognized the power of imagery and the subtle yet profound messages conveyed through casting choices. In this case, he felt that casting the same actress to play both Jake's girlfriend and Rom's wife risked undermining the importance of portraying Jake's relationships with care and respect. It could diminish the significance of his character's romantic life by making it seem like an afterthought, something that could be easily interchanged with another role. Moreover, Brooks was keenly aware of how black love and black relationships were often underrepresented or misrepresented on television. By ensuring that Jake's girlfriend would not be portrayed by an actress who was also involved with another prominent character, Brooks was advocating for the authenticity and integrity of Jake's storyline. He likely saw it as an opportunity to reflect a fuller, more nuanced portrayal of black love, something that was often neglected in mainstream media. For a show like Star Trek, which prided itself on pushing the boundaries of inclusivity and forward-thinking storytelling, such a misstep could have diluted the progressive ethos that it sought to promote. Beyond Brooks's specific objections, the situation also highlighted the broader challenges of writing and casting for a show that tackled complex social issues within a science fiction framework. Star Trek has always been a platform for exploring contemporary problems through the lens of speculative fiction, and DS9 was no exception. With its emphasis on deep character development and moral ambiguity, the show often ventured into territory that required careful thought and consideration, especially when it came to the depiction of race, culture, and identity. Brooks, in this context, was not simply protecting his character's narrative, but was safeguarding the show's commitment to progressive storytelling. Ultimately, the decision not to cast Chase Masterson as Jake's girlfriend was a small but significant victory for Avery Brooks's vision of what Star Trek could and should represent. It ensured that Jake's character would have a romantic arc that felt distinct and meaningful, rather than recycled or reductive. More broadly, it reinforced the idea that representation matters not just in terms of who is on screen, but how their stories are told and the care with which those stories are crafted. In an industry where actors often have limited say in the creative decisions that shape their characters, Avery Brooks's willingness to speak up for what he believed in was notable.